Catch up with the Liberal member for Flinders, Zoe McKenzie. The wonderful electorate of Flinders takes in the Mornington Peninsula and the like down there southeast of Melbourne. Good to talk to you again, Zoe. I want to get your thoughts first up on Anthony Albanese not going to the NATO summit. Now, 10, 15 years ago, when I was involved in foreign affairs, it wouldn't be expected that a Prime Minister goes to a NATO summit. But we're doing a lot with NATO countries in Ukraine in particular. We've done a lot in other issues as well. And Anthony Albanese's been to the last couple of summits. Why wouldn't he go to Washington?
I know, I think he was up to 30 trips by November of last year, right? And now we get to this one. It's in Washington. It's with our AUKUS partners. You may well have a new UK Prime Minister. So very important to sit down and talk to him about AUKUS and its progress. But importantly, as you say, we are one of the greatest contributors to the Ukraine effort outside of NATO. I was at NATO headquarters with Simon Birmingham last year, and the gratitude to Australia was paramount. And therefore, it's one of the ones that's more obvious than, frankly, some of the others that he's done in the last 2 years, to be there, particularly to potentially meet with a new UK Prime Minister. Yeah,
I hadn't thought of that. I thought it's always important to go to Washington and speak to the President and others in the US administration when you can. But yeah, Keir Starmer's likely to be there as the new Labor Prime Minister of the UK. And with AUKUS being so important, you would have thought it's a Monty to be there. I think he's embarrassed by his amount of travel. Or do you think he would be worried about how the Americans might respond to his grandstanding with Julian Assange?
Oh, look, I think it's probably more about the crisis that he faces at home. He's got a divided party. He's got a cost of living crisis on a level we have not seen in this country for a long time. As people try and make ends meet over the grocery basket, to be on his plane off to Washington probably to him feels a bridge too far. But to the rest of us, I think national security, the country's defence, geopolitics where it's at, and of course the possibility of a change of administration in the US at the end of the year, this to me seems one where more likely than not he should be there. He should be there meeting particularly with the US and the UK and rebonding those connections for what could be a pretty testing year, frankly.
Yeah, I think it's a fair argument, although I think he's probably looking at trying to go to the polls late November, early December, so he probably wants to stay here and try and focus on the cost of living. And on that, the Reserve Bank minutes that came out today seem to almost confirm that interest rates are going to go up, because they're saying very clearly if there's any upward tilt in inflation, that's what they'll need to do. And lo and behold, a few days later, inflation jumped up again to 4%.
Exactly, one of the highest in the Western world, right? Core inflation at 4.4, that's the figure that the RBA looks like. They are the only people making an effort to bring it down. $315 billion in new spending from this government. It's no wonder inflation is racing ahead. People are struggling to make ends meet. We know energies are particularly damning, but insurance 17%. Oil, at the supermarket, 28%. Lollies, 17%. Takeaway food, 15%. It's really hard for people to make ends meet at the moment. And frankly, we keep being told across the parliament just how good people have got at the moment. It's extraordinary. So, they've got a long way to go in terms of reining in inflation in Australia, and it leaves the RBA in the most unenviable position.
Well, as I said at the top of the program, they're not going to have to make any new ads for their election campaign, because the last election they promised to get interest rates down and the cost of living down, and now they're promising the same thing, having not done it. It's a bizarre.
We're sort of $275 for your energy bills. I'm still waiting for that one. Right? That was meant to be a resettling of the energy costs. But I don't watch much commercial TV, but the ads are everywhere for what the government's supposedly doing for everyone. You saw a giant billboard for Pete Carlile on the weekend. They're out and about. They're ready for an election. It's just they're not doing more for the Australian people.
It's Groundhog Day. Thanks for joining us, Zoe. I appreciate it. Zoe McKenzie there live from Canberra.